All 4 bear paws are complete. I have put them on the fleece board with the other pieces in between them. They're not sewn yet. What we want to do is get our lattice work in place. I'm going to sew this piece of lattice work to this block, iron the seam toward the lattice work, then sew this one to the lattice work and iron the seam toward the lattice work again. I will do the same thing over here on this side. Then I will sew this to the center to this. These seams will also go to the lattice work. When we get them done, we will have 3 columns that are connected. We'll then connect this one to here and then to there. Match up your seams. Make sure you have a nice pretty T where they meet. And that's about it for completing the center of this quilt, and then we'll be down to the borders. So we'll get busy with this. I have the bear paw unit and the lattice work unit. I'm getting ready to sew them together. Now we don't have anything to match on this, so we want to make sure and pinch the other end. And if we have to, pinch the center and then work to there and go to the other end. If you need a pin there, you can do that. The first thing we want to do is match up the top and the side. Now put the lattice work on the back because there are no seams in it, and it will slide better across your sewing machine. You won't have to worry about a seam going the wrong way. I'm going to get them in there. Top even, right even. Take a couple of stitches, needle down, come way out here, match up these edges, and even it up. If you need to, pinch about halfway and work to there and then go to the other end. We want to divide it up in units so we know that it's right, but we don't want to stop and put pins in all the time and have to take them out if we don't need to. Now when you get to this seam where the toe comes in, there's a V there, so we want to go just one smidgen below that V like we did before. Slow down. Come across there. Now leave your needle down, come down here, even it back up again like you had it before. I call this finger pinning. My students love it. They come in and they're used to putting a pin every 2 inches, and I tell them not to bother. There's a time to use pins, and this is not it. Take this piece that we've just done to the ironing board. Put it down on the ironing board with the lattice on top and the seam towards you. When you get ready to iron, you're going to set this seam, peel this up, and bump it with the iron, and that will make a nice pretty seam. The next step in completing our quilt center is to take this piece that we have put together, the long slender one, turn it onto this piece and sew that seam. Make sure and connect these seams right here where they will match very well. Then we will turn this piece onto this and sew it to this side, matching these seams in both places. Then we'll be ready for some borders. My next border will be this thin green material. I've cut 5 strips. It's going to take about 5 strips to go around it. And they're 1.5 inches wide. I've cut the selvages off, and I'm going to attach them together end to end to make one long piece. Then I will measure my quilt from edge to edge in the center of the quilt. It's 43 inches. I've already measured it. I will cut 2 pieces that length, and we'll hook them to the top and the bottom of the quilt. I have my first thin border around this quilt top. Remember, I measured from side to side, and then I cut 2 strips that length to put on the top and the bottom. I had cut my 1.5 inch strips and attached them end to end, so I had one long piece, and I cut the 2 strips from that and put on top and bottom. Then you measure from the top to the bottom in the center of the quilt, cut 2 more strips that size, and put on either side. So we have completed our first inner border, the small one. I want to put one more border, which will be a finished 6 inches, but I will cut my strip 6.5 inches. I want it this color right here. So the first thing I will do is cut enough strips, which I believe 5 will do it, if not 6 will. Sometimes I'll go with the lower number and see if I can squeak by on that, and if not, I'll cut one more. But I'll cut 5 strips and see if I can get by with that. I will sew them end to end just like I did before and measure from the center and put those at top and bottom. And then I will measure top to bottom and put them on 2 sides, and I will be back with you with a finished quilt top. I have all 4 borders on my quilt top now. I have lots of room on this last border to do decorative stitching, and on this lattice work, on these bear paws, it would be beautiful to have an ecru thread and do some decorative stitching there. If you didn't want to do that, you could just do some in-the-ditch stitching or just inside the seam lines a 1/4 inch and just set off each part of this quilt. But this will make a lovely quilt to decorate your home or to snuggle up under while you're watching TV. I hope you've had fun with this, and until I see you again, happy quilting.